like old times.
Now you're talking playoff football.
I'll tell you.
Wellington Mara always said, once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
All right, Giants fans, welcome back to another episode of Only a Giant. We have a preview episode with the Cincinnati Bengals against the New York Giants. Cincinnati Bengals are 1-4, New York Giants 2-3. And I have a guest, Scott. Thanks for joining me, man.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so kind of reason I wanted to have you here for this episode. Obviously, you're a Bengals fan, but also just figured you could shed some light on just
What
the
gave it away?
Yeah, but you should shed some light on just the Bengals in general for us, and you know, a little bit of the preview for the game, and kind of go from there. So, I guess opening thoughts. What are your thoughts about this game?
Well, it's pretty much the definition of a must-win for Cincinnati. I mean, 1-4 is with the schedule we had, not exactly where I expected to be, and I mean they've been in all the games. I think I saw that they've lost like all 4 games combined by like 15 points. So,
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, and a couple of the things like just right at the end of the game, just lost it obviously last week to the Ravens and against Kansas City with that pass interference call and stuff just right at the end. Those are two games could have won. And unfortunately, the way I'm looking at it now is our defense is just awful. And that's the big problem.
Yeah, well, we'll get into defense here in just a little bit. The weird kind of thing with this game is I feel like it's like two kind of paths colliding right now, where the Bengals are kind of 1-4, a must win for you guys, and kind of even from what I've heard too with coaching, like a chance maybe that your coach could get fired if you guys lose this game. I don't know if that's true or not. But also the Giants kind of coming in. Daniel Jones is 1-12 in primetime games, traditionally really bad. Has not thrown a passing touchdown in over a year at Giants Stadium. So it's like this weird, like kind of collision course right now. And one team's going to go one way and the other team's going to go the other way. It's kind of an interesting matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think also it feels like the Giants, especially after last week's win, the one thing is like it feels like you guys are coming in feeling better. And we're coming in feeling like backs up against the wall. And I'm kind of hoping that, that helps. Obviously, in the league with only 17 games, you guys need to win really realistically like just as much, but it just it feels like you guys have a little more momentum, and it's one of those things where like I bet as a Giants fan you were hoping we won against the Ravens, because
100%.
with us losing it's like, God damn, like now you gotta they're gonna be hungrier, if you will.
No, you're right. For the Giants right now, it's like we've seen good flashes. We haven't quite been able to put it all together, and even still against the Seahawks, I don't feel like we did. But it's like we're seeing flashes where we look like we're at least an average team, potentially maybe a little bit better than that, or maybe a little bit worse. We'll see kind of in the coming weeks. But yeah, you're right. Really, really would have preferred you guys to have won, just to make this a little bit more. I don't know,
maybe trap gamey or something.
Exactly. All right, let's jump in, though. Let's jump into the Bengals. Obviously, first thing I always like to do is just kind of go over the depth chart for the Bengals. I do have the injury report as well. Maybe we'll do that quick right now. So it looked like what I had seen, both of your running backs. Oh, I'm trying to pull it up right now. Don't mind me.
No problem.
Well, where are you? I had it. No, I'm being.
I know that Moss was either limited or didn't practice.
Yeah, Moss and Chase Brown were both limited from what I saw. Nothing else really stuck out. I think Gesicki was limited as well, but it looked like pretty much everyone for you guys was going to be there that needs to be. Is that correct?
I mean, Dax Hill is going to be out for the year.
I knew that.
Mix. Yeah, he's been playing. It's weird. Like, it feels like they have him playing a mix of corner and safety, which is nice to have versatility. But like, I feel like it's too much. There was too much on his plate. Our corners have had a rough go of it this year, as far as tackling certainly goes, and I mean, I'm sure we'll get into that when we come to the defense, but that's not gonna help to have him out as well in the secondary.
Yeah. And then for the Giants, I know Malik's still in concussion protocol. We
Hmm.
think he's going to clear it this week, but still not really sure. Kayvon Thibodeau's out, which you may have heard, may have not. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
heard
Wrist
it's week
injury
to
for
week or
him.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. Adoree Jackson limited. Uh, Drew Phillips limited. So we'll see. I think we'll be all right health wise for the most part. A couple linemen did not participate, but they should be there for the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, not having Malik Neighbors is it's too bad because what he's shown so far this year has been amazing. But as a team
Yeah.
that's 1-4 coming in, I'm not gonna lie. If he doesn't play, I won't shed a tear. Um, he needs to get himself totally right. All right, just take another week. Take another week.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he can play, but I was impressed last week with Darius Slayton and with Daniel Jones kind of being able to spread the ball around a little bit, run the ball. So that was a pleasant surprise that kind of came out of last week. That hey, maybe we can win a game without him, but obviously we would prefer to have him.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and Tracy looked a lot really explosive and from what
Yeah, he
I
did.
saw in that game.
Yeah.
So that
All right,
scares
well,
me is yeah. But go ahead.
yeah, let's jump into the Bengals depth chart. So I'll go over the offense first, and then just chime in with anyone that you want to kind of highlight, even if it's a name I didn't mention, good or bad, and then we'll jump over the defense. So obviously Joe Burrow, starting quarterback, Zach Moss as your starting running back with Chase Brown backing him up. Sounds like a 50-50 split kind of there for the most part. Jamar Chase, wide receiver 1, T. Higgins 2, Andre Yosevas. If I didn't butcher that, then I'm surprised. Uh, Tight end Eric All, Mike Gesicki, left tackle Orlando Brown, Cordell Volson as your left guard. I'm not overly familiar with him. Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, and then Amarius Mims on your offensive line. So just a little something about any of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't need to say too much about Burrow or the receivers.
Right.
They've all been playing great. Even Yoshavas, he seems like he's kind of seamlessly stepped into that Tyler Boyd role. He doesn't quite do the same things that Tyler Boyd did, but I think that we recognize that T. Higgins is probably going to be gone next year. So Yoshavas, it's kind of like his, can he be the number two? Is kind of
Right.
what he's been able to kind of show. And T. Higgins missed the first couple games, and Yoshavas was in that role, and I think he's got 3 touchdowns on the year. So I mean that's something. Um,
Right.
and then so Trent Brown went out for the year, and Amarius Mims, uh, you know, taken over for him. First of all, the dude's enormous. Like, it's so
Yeah, he is.
weird to see him next to all these other enormous linemen. And I don't know what it is, but he just looks so much bigger. Um, and he had to come in, I think, well, he had to come in 2 weeks ago. But he was in all last week, and I feels like the line has held up pretty well. One of the things since Joe Burrow's been here is that he gets sacked a lot. And for a few years, the first couple years, that was because the line was bad. Now the line is capable. It's really just that the way Burrow plays, he holds the ball long. He wants to wait for that window. There's a couple quarterbacks like that in the league that just know if they get that extra second, they can make a big play happen. And that's the kind of person he is. And you kind of live and die with that.
Does he get out of the pocket at all? To kind of look downfield or not as much?
He does, but the one thing that I think sets him apart from a lot of the quarterbacks is how good he is moving in the pocket, like just being able to sense what's happening around him without having to like stop looking at his reads. I
Mhm.
think that's one of the things that he's probably the best at in the league is being able to navigate the pocket while still keeping his eyes downfield.
Right.
So yeah, he doesn't run as much. Like over the summer, I watched some of the highlights from the LSU championship games and that year, and he ran a lot more then. That offense was pretty crazy,
Yeah.
obviously with all the injuries and stuff, especially to his ACL and MCL, everything the first year, it makes sense that he doesn't run as much now, but he's capable of doing it.
Two other guys I wanted to mention, and you may have comments, you may not. Charlie Jones and Jermaine Burton. I like Charlie Jones a lot last year. Obviously, Jermaine Burton in the draft this year. Have they been contributing at all? Really? Do they have a role in this team? this year or more of a future?
Well, so Charlie Jones is punt returns. That's mainly what he's been doing. Last year, he was in some like 4 wide receiver sets, it felt like. This year, he has not really been out on the field much for the offense. And then Burton, kind of same deal. He's really only seems to be like a fourth receiver. He made a big play. I'm trying to remember. I think it was against Kansas City. He had like a 41-yard catch. He's got speed, which is nice because as much as Jamar Chase has speed, and even Higgins has speed to an extent, not the same, but Chase's
Right.
speed is more like quickness. It's more like get the ball in his hands and then stuff happens. It's not really Chase doesn't do as many just like fly routes. He doesn't just like go verticals. And that's seems to be what Burton is going to be best at least for the time being. Obviously, you draft anyone from Alabama, I'll take them. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what he becomes.
Quick little side note here: Yankees are up 1-0. Just in case you're following.
I actually have the Detroit and Cleveland game on because I figured
Ah,
you'd have that on Detroit taking the lead 3-2, top 7.
so weird that I don't want to get on that topic, but that's Detroit's such a weird team this year.
Well, yeah, if Detroit, Kansas City, and the Padres made the final 4 teams, I think the MLB commissioner would lay an egg with those small markets. But
All right, let's let's jump over to the defense for the Bengals. Sam Hubbard, defensive end, Sheldon Rankins, B.J. Hill, Trey Hendrickson, Logan Wilson for linebacker, Jermaine Pratt, Akeem Davis Gaither. Cornerbacks are Cam Taylor Britt and DJ Turner. Safeties are Von Bell, Gino Stone, and then your nickelback currently would be Mike Hilton. So any of those guys kind of jump out to you, and if so, any comments?
well, the main thing that jumps out to me is you play back, you read back the names, and it's not very different at all from our team last year, except
Yeah,
our defense this year is like awful.
way worse.
And I mean, and the thing is, the biggest problem we had last year was in like the safeties because we had Dax Hill and I'm trying to remember Jordan Battle maybe. We had just some
Yeah, I
really
remember
young
Battle.
guys back there,
Yep.
too young, and we went out and picked up Von Bell again after letting him go for a year, just to kind of get that presence in. And Geno Stone was a good pickup. Taking him from the Ravens is always nice. Um, and I thought that that was kind of addressing the safety problem, but they haven't been great. Cam Taylor Britt has been on and off. He's made some spectacular plays. He had a great one-handed interception in that Kansas City game, but he also got beat by Rasheed Rice, which is saying something because Rasheed Rice doesn't. That's not what he does.
Right.
Um, and so yeah, it's just been overall disappointing. And on top of the personnel, I mean, we still have Lou Anarumo. He stayed there. He could have went and got a head coaching job either of the last 2 seasons. Maybe last year we weren't as good defensively, but he's seemed to be really good, but he's not pulling this team together for some reason. And these are like virtually all the same guys. So yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to believe we can continue to be this bad with the same kind of talent. Hendrickson is a really good edge rusher. Hubbard's fine. Rankins and Hill are all right up the middle, but we have had our problems stopping the run, and
Yeah.
maybe that's part of it. Like the first week, Ramondre Stevenson just kind of rolled over us, and then week 2, Pacheco was rolling all over us, and I think maybe what's happened is that we're kind of selling out to stop the run because we know we're bad at it, and that's why our secondary has been vulnerable. I don't know, but it's not good. I mean, Daniel Jones will probably look pretty good.
How's Chris Jenkins been for you guys? I know you're a Michigan fan, so my assumption is you're pretty familiar with him. How's he look this year, if he's played at all?
He's played some backup roles. And I mean, because for a while we had Hill and Rankins were both out, and so we had to just have other guys stepping up, and he hasn't done that much, frankly. But I mean, that's compared to what our starters are doing. I mean, it's not saying a ton at this point anyway. But yeah, I am hopeful that he'll have more of a role going forward. And, we do have a lot of older guys on the defense, so
Yeah.
hopefully that young talent come to find his own.
Yeah. So we'll jump into just stats real quick. Looks like Joe Burrow's completing about 72% of his passes, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Running the ball, it looks like you guys haven't really run the ball much this year. Granted, you're kind of splitting the carries with Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Chase Brown has 230 yards and Zach Moss has 211. So maybe I'm wrong on that. And then obviously your main wide receivers are Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, 29 receptions, 18 receptions, 5 touchdowns for Jamar and 2 for T. Higgins. So offensively, to me, it looks like your passing game is kind of the strength of your offense. Uh, what do you think about that? And am I wrong on that? I guess.
No, I mean, that's definitely been the case, and it's tough because when you have Joe Burrow, you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you want the passing game to be the focal point. A lot of times in football, you're gonna hear, you run to set up the pass. Like, I think for our team, it should be you pass to set up the run. Make them have to back off and then open up some lanes for the running game because Zach Moss, Zach Moss is a fine running back, but he obviously doesn't have a lot of speed.
Yeah.
Chase Brown does have some explosiveness. I worry a little bit that he's the type of guy that's just, I don't want to say trying to hit home runs all the time, but I do worry a bit that he's always like looking for the hole that he can burst through to get 10, 12 yards. And he's good at doing it, but sometimes it feels like he just kind of runs into the line a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
and
Sometimes you gotta take
so,
those three
yeah,
to 4 yards and just go.
yeah. And I mean the big kicker for me, like just like last week, I think we talked about it a few days ago, but with the Ravens game in overtime, we get that fumble, Lamar fumbles it, Jermaine Pratt picks it up and runs it back, and then we just run the ball 3 times with Brown kind of right up the middle. And I always hate that because you're selling out your kicker. I mean, it ended up being a 53 yarder. Anything 50 plus, let's not treat it like a gimme.
Right.
You're really, if because I mean, again, the whole game, Burrow was just gashing their defense. So I'm not saying chuck a 40-yard touchdown pass in overtime, but you can just keep doing what you're doing, and Burrow knows at that point in the game you got to hold on, take care of the ball. But
Yeah. You got to trust Burrow
yeah,
at that point.
yeah, we kind of it's just weird because you're mentioning that we, like you said, we are a more pass happy team. And then at the end of the game when it's on the line and we have one of the better quarterbacks in the league to take it out of his hands, uh, that didn't sit well with me. And that's one of those things where if Zach Taylor does get fired, that decision is probably going to be a big reason why. Um, Honestly, because if he takes a different approach, if we throw the ball and get 5, 6 yards, run the ball, get a few more yards, even if we don't get a first down out of it, just to try to get closer with
Yeah.
using your quarterback. If we kick that field goal and win that game, all of a sudden we're 2-3. The Ravens are 2-3, and we'd be ahead of them, ahead of the Browns, and just kind of totally changes the narrative of the season.
It
And
does. Yeah.
but
Yeah. So let's jump over, I guess, to the Giants offense. And this has kind of been, at least so far in the year, how the Giants offense has been successful, obviously. Short, intermediate passing. We haven't really taken a lot of deep shots. Last week was probably the first week that we really actually connected on a few. But it's been like ball control. We've been time of possession has been in the favor. Any game that we've been in, we're kind of close to like doubling time of possession, which is kind of crazy. What I think the Giants are going to try to do in this game once again is kind of control the clock, keep your offense off the field as much as possible. Hopefully, run the ball with Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary if he's playing this week. But I do hope Singletary has a little bit of less of a role. And then, if Malik plays, obviously give him his targets, but try to spread the ball around a little bit and keep the ball away from your offense. I think that's going to kind of be the key for the Giants to win this game.
yeah, I mean that makes sense. I think that would be a general good plan going in. And the one thing I will say, you mentioned Singletary. One thing that he does really well is break tackles better than most backs in the league. So even though he's obviously not as explosive and maybe not even as good as Tyrone Tracy, I don't know, but the one thing that he is good at, we have been so bad at tackling. So that worries me. Like I kind of hope he doesn't play either, just because I can just see it right now. 4 or 5 guys just missing tackles on him.
Yeah.
Uh,
I like
but
Singletary. It's the fumbles are an issue for me. Every game he plays in, he has at least one fumble a game,
for
and
sure.
that cost us. That cost us against the Commanders. That cost us against the Bengals, or not the Bengals, the Vikings. Granted,
Oh
we weren't
no,
really
got to
we
say
weren't
that
really in
next
that game,
week.
but yeah. um, so I'm torn a little bit. I would say I like Singletary. I'd like him to still get carries, but I really want to see what Tyrone Tracy can do for us. Are you familiar with Tracy's story at all, or not really?
No, I am not. No.
He was at Iowa as a wide receiver. He was a wide receiver for 4 years. Then he transferred to Purdue, and they switched him to running back. So that's when he switched over to running back. So he's a little bit older. I think he's 24 or maybe 25. Not a lot of carries as a running back. I think he 2 years at Purdue. So this is really like his third year as being a running back for the position.
Wow.
He looks good.
Yeah, I mean, like I told you before we started this, I saw a little bit of him again in that Seattle game, and because I had it on, and he just yeah, it looked like he was shot out of a cannon every time he got the ball.
Yeah, cool, man.
But
So yeah, Bengals offensively. I mean, what are you hoping in this game? What do you want them to do? Um, and then we'll go from there.
I mean, more of the same. The last 3 weeks, the offenses looked great. Granted, I mean, 2 of those games were against Washington and Carolina, who both defenses are not very good. Although, frankly, you could say the same about Baltimore's defense at this point. But um, I think we got to put the ball in Burrow's hands and let him throw a bunch and take the runs when we can get them. I do expect that Chase Brown is going to kind of take over a little bit more. Um, Zach Moss, kind of the same deal as you're talking about with the Singletary thing. Like Zach Moss, I like him enough. He's a professional running back. There's no question about that. But I think Chase Brown has shown that he has that explosive quality that can, like, if he's capable of taking a pitch and going 30 yards to the house, all of a sudden, that makes it a little harder to get heat on Burrow.
Right.
And then that opens up more of the passing game. And so we just, we got to hold on to the ball. Between holding on to the ball and then just making a few stops on defense. I think it was that Washington game. The defense literally didn't stop them one time. Uh, I mean,
Sounds
you're
exactly
not
like the
going
game
to.
with us against Washington.
Yeah. It doesn't, well, I mean, you guys will only give up field goals at least, but but, yeah, I just, I don't know. You're not gonna win. It doesn't matter how good your offense is. If your defense is literally letting them score every time, it's all it's gonna be. That's so much pressure then on your offense, which
Right.
is just kind of stupid for an offense that should be free flowing and just doing what they want. Maybe even playing up tempo. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely don't want you guys to control the ball a lot, like you said. That would be the way to win the game, I think, is to just get little chunks of yards at a time, keep getting first downs, and keep Burrow on the sidelines.
So far, that's what we've been doing, and we've been actually passing a little bit more on first down to kind of keep those drives moving. It's been really fun to watch. I don't know if you saw any of the stats from that Seahawks game, but I think we had the ball for like 38 minutes, and
Yeah.
Seattle had 21-50 or something like that. It was really kind of absurd. Um, let's jump over the defense. Obviously, for the Giants, our kind of strength of the defense right now is the defensive line. Not having Kayvon Thibodeau in this game will obviously hurt, but we do still have Azeez Ojulari, who was a starter last year. So, the hope there is still getting a lot of pressure with the defensive line. We do lead the NFL in sacks right now as well. I'm not sure if you knew that. What would you do? I guess if you were defending against the Bengals, what would you want to do?
I mean, I think
Pressure?
the too high safety look has been something that it's not like Burrow can't beat it, but it does make it a lot harder to get those big plays. So I'd start there.
Yes.
And then yeah, pressure. I mean, it's tough to say because Burrow's usually not going to make bad decisions even under pressure. But like I said before, his thing is waiting that 1 second until he can get that perfect pass. And if
Right.
you don't give him enough time to do that, then he's not one of these guys, like like Brady did a lot of his career, or a lot of these guys who will dump off a little quick. They'll be quick to dump off to a running back or just something short. Burrow doesn't really want to do that. And so if you make him go quick and you're guarding deep, then it makes it a little tougher.
Yeah, that's kind of what our defense is right now. It's very bend don't break. Obviously last week a little bit better, I would say, with that. Much better disguising coverages, but a lot of forcing you to take that underneath completion, short completions, hopefully not giving up anything deep, and that's kind of been the staple of this defense so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough because we've all seen Jamar Chase. He can take that short pass and
Yeah,
do
yeah.
something big with it, but it's just he doesn't get that route a lot. He's usually trying on the outside, just trying to draw safeties around, and so yeah, it's been great to have Higgins back because I know you're not the biggest Higgins fan, but
He's a push off
he's
machine, man.
he does push off. And, it's weird. It feels like a lot of the bigger receivers, because I can look at like Metcalf, AJ Brown, a lot
Yeah.
of these guys, that's like kind of part of what they do. But yeah, he did get called for that I think 2 games ago or something like that. And I was like, I thought of you right away. Um, but
I don't
it's just
dislike him. I just that frustrates me. Like I feel like
for
that's a big
sure.
part of the game.
Well, especially he's so long. I don't think he has to do that against a lot of these,
No, it doesn't.
5'10" corner or whatever. You can probably just jump up and not put your, I don't know, but
To your point, Scott, our cornerback 2 right now is Cordell Flott. Do you know his size at all? Do you know anything about him?
I don't.
He's been in the league for like 3 years, but he's still 23 years old.
Mm,
So he's young, but he's 6'2", buck
mm,
74. So like I'm
yeah,
curious about that matchup. If Cordell Flott is lined up against T Higgins a lot.
yeah. Well, it's weird. 2 Cordells in this game, I guess. Cordell Volson and this
Oh
guy.
yeah, I was like, who's the other one? Okay, yeah, it's not a popular name, I guess. It's kind of weird, and I didn't notice that. Um, but that'll be an interesting matchup, I think. That kind of cornerback 2, wide receiver 2. Now, I'm not 100% sure that Deontay Banks is going to travel with Chase, and we do play a lot of zone, so it may not really matter, but that'll still be something interesting to watch, I think, with the defense.
Yeah, you don't see corners that big that often, so that will be interesting. The only thing that's weird is that actually might work against him because he's bigger, and then they'll you know they'll
Oh, he's
they'll allow
smaller.
them probably to
He's
be.
smaller. He's 6'2", a buck 70, 170.
No, I know, but that's big for a corner though.
Not weight wise, but
Well, right, yeah, but the 6'2" that's tall
6'2",
for a
yeah.
corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I guess, yeah, he is definitely smaller, but, yeah, the height is there. So, that might make those jump balls a little harder, but actually,
Yeah.
Higgins has been doing a lot of in and out routes. That's been what he's been kinda making his money on since he came back from, the hamstring injury, and I don't know if that has something to do with maybe that's just easier for his hamstring, and that's why he started doing those, I don't know, but, um, yeah, I'm fine with that, because those seem to be easier completions. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's sure it's nice when he's 40 yards down the field and jumping up in the air, but it's also, just a less likely completion. So,
Right.
I'm all about the live for another down, get the first down, reset and then,
Yeah.
start
Keep the
over.
offense
But
on pace. Right.
yeah, yeah. So I don't
Let's
know.
let's jump over to the Bengals defense. Currently ranked 31st in the NFL in points given up. So 29 points per
Hey,
game right now. Uh,
not last.
yeah, not last. Obviously, I don't know a lot about the defense with the Bengals right now. I know you have a good coach. I know the defense hasn't changed too much, but tell me a little bit about what's been the issue with the Bengals defense and what needs to change besides being better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, like I said, early on in the season, we were just getting gashed on the run. A lot of it was missed tackles in that first game, and a lot of it, and I've listened to some podcasts talking about this, and a lot of it seems to be some more outside runs. Guys kicking it outside, and
That's
the
that's
corners
Tracy.
are, yeah, the corners are getting relied on to make those tackles, and they were missing them a lot. And then we missed Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill weren't there, I believe, for 2 straight games, which is certainly not going to help if you already are struggling to stop the run. Um, but because of that, teams have been running on us a lot, and guys like Hendrickson and Hubbard. Hendrickson is again a really really good edge rusher, and he just hasn't seemed to have been as effective. And maybe, like I said, maybe it's because teams aren't having to drop back and throw. Not having too many third and longs, because on first down they're getting 7 yards running the ball. So
Right.
it just makes it a little harder to pin your ears back and go after the quarterback. But yeah, it's I think that the whole unit, like the whole defensive unit cohesively, is just not performing as well as they need to. Not getting enough pressure, not sticking with receivers on the outside, and not stopping the run. And I mean, we're just not doing enough of it. And if you can't rely on people to get pressure, then you're not going to be able to cover for that
Right.
long. And if you can't rely on people to stop the run, then you're never going to have third and longs to get pressure. So it's kind of a whole thing that's not
Right.
good.
Is Trey Hendrickson, is he lining up on the right side of the defense or the left side?
uh
I want to
Left.
say he's on the right, but
This is
I'll let.
confusing for me to imagine. For some reason, I'm struggling with it.
Will he line up
From
on the left tackle or the right tackle? Will he line up on? I believe he
I
lines up on
think
the
he's
left
on.
tackle.
That sounds right.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
believe it is. So that'll be an interesting matchup. Him against Andrew Thomas, who obviously has been very good this year. Kind of weird to also say that we haven't really talked about the Giants' offensive line, but it hasn't been an issue this year. It's kind of wild as a Giants fan to have to, or be able to say that, I guess, if you will.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like the last couple years, so many offensive lines were terrible.
Yeah.
Um, and it seems like it's starting to get a little bit better.
Right.
But I guess, yeah, we'll see there. I'm not hopeful that they're gonna get great pressure. The only thing that I guess as a Bengals fan I can hope for the defense is that they are able to kind of slow the run down and make Daniel Jones make plays, and just hope that he makes some mistakes, because like our defense just isn't good enough to consistently stop people. We're gonna need some turnovers, and I mean he's capable of doing it, turning it over for sure. But
Yeah.
it seems like it seems like last couple games he's had his head on his shoulders a little better. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe we need him to get to revert.
Yeah, it's ever since the Vikings game, he's played much better. I mean, not great, not perfect, obviously. The last 2 weeks, much better, I would say. Um, but he's been good enough, to kind of do what we need to do. Um, I think he's got 6 touchdowns and maybe 6 touchdowns and maybe 2 interceptions in the last 4 games. I could be wrong on that. Um, All right, so last part that two parts left. I'm going to do the 3 keys to the game for the Giants to win. Do you have keys for the Bengals as well?
I can come up with some. You can go ahead and go first, and
Yeah.
I'll have
Yeah,
some.
I'll go first. Obviously, and we kind of already talked about this a little bit, but shorten the game. Uh, Giants rank 5th in the NFL right now with average time of possession. Keep the ball, establish drives, keep the game short, keep Joe Burrow off the field is obviously important with that passing game. Number 2 is run the ball, and that kind of coincides with number 1, so maybe that's the cheap route. But if we can run the ball successfully against this defense, which the numbers indicate that we should be able to, that'll really help to kind of keep this game in the Giants' control. And then lastly, in the red zone, Cincinnati Bengals defense ranks 25th in the NFL in red zone scores given up. We can get into the red zone, but we got to make them touchdowns. We cannot settle for field goals, and I think that'll be a good recipe for a Giants win.
Yeah, I mean, that all makes some sense. From a Bengals perspective, I think the first thing for me is, like I said, try to make Daniel Jones beat you. You want to have to, get him in some third and longs, have him have to make plays, and hopefully not just plays with his legs, because obviously he can do that. But make him have to make some tough throws. Another thing I would say for the offense is try to have some successful first downs. I think we've been doing that a lot better since the last 3 weeks, being able to kind of just come out and start throwing the ball, but throwing the ball on first down, getting even 5-6 yards something positive. Have positive first downs would definitely be something that I would say. And I guess the third thing that I would say, I want us to kind of keep the pedal down. If our offense is rolling, then just keep rolling. Don't try to change anything. I think that that's
Don't
what
play
really hurt us
conservative.
also. Yeah,
Yeah.
that also I think was what hurt us against Baltimore. I mean, we were up by 10 with like, I don't know, maybe 7 minutes left or something like that. And, they were scrapping and clawing to score because they had to. And it wasn't like we totally weren't trying to do anything. We weren't just like running the ball up the middle every time, but it felt like there was a noticeable shift in the fact that it was like, okay, well, we're up by 10 now, so let's make sure that we don't turn the ball over, say.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think if last week showed us anything, if we're up by 10 in the fourth quarter, and again, I'm not saying just throw it into, double coverage or whatever, just for the sake of trying to score more, but don't be afraid to call plays like it's the first quarter.
Right. Cool. Awesome. Last spot, and I'll let you go first if you want. Score prediction. Putting you
Yeah, I did.
the pressure right on you.
No, yeah. No, I got it. I know what it's gonna be. I did think about this, and I'm gonna say Bengals 27-20. I think, the Bengals, they've scored, I think, 34 or more the last 3 games, but I think they'll get pulled back down a little bit. But I'm thinking maybe they're up 24-20 with a couple minutes left and kick a field goal and then just barely hold on and stop you guys from scoring to tie it.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I believe the Bengals offense right now is fourth in the league, averaging 28 points per game. So you're kind of right on that. And the Giants defense right now is averaging 20 points per game, which ranks 11th in the NFL. So you're kind of like right on that average, which is kind of ironic there. All right, I'll do my score prediction, and obviously, no surprise probably, but I am going to pick the Giants in this game. 31-24. I think we're going to be able to put up some points on offense. Apologies, and hopefully just pressure Joe Burrow enough to kind of keep the offense not in sync and enough to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it sounds like it's going to be an exciting one. I actually do have a question for you.
I
Just
might have an answer for you.
in regards to the Seahawks game.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that play, the field goal block, where the guys just like hold the center down? Why is that allowed? Like
I don't know. If was he actually holding the center down? I think he just kind of like
yeah,
laid on him.
yeah. No, he was
Well,
definitely as soon as the ball was hiked, I don't know who it was, but he immediately put his hands on the
I think
center
it
and
was
held him
Dexter
down.
Lawrence. Yeah,
Yeah, he put
I
his
think it was
hand and
Dexter
so that
Lawrence.
yeah, and again, I don't remember who it was. Number 19 just jumps on it. Like, it was clearly a play. They practiced it to
Yep.
say we're like because if he jumps over and hits him, then it's a penalty.
Yeah, that's
So
the biggest thing is you
I
can't touch him. And he's
I
already lined up
honestly
on the line of scrimmage too, which was cool. But
yeah, I honestly think that the refs were like, oh, they shouldn't be able to do that, but we can't do anything about it now. And I bet that the league is going to come up with some ruling in the offseason. You're going to see that that's not going to be allowed anymore. That you
that's
can't.
happened. That happened to us last year. I believe it was last year or the year prior. So that is something that has happened before.
Because it's weird because like what can the center do if they're bent over hiking it and then they go to come up and someone's holding them down? Like, I mean, there's nothing that even if I knew you were gonna do it to me, what could I do? Like I
Yeah,
mean,
but the other problem with that though, I think, is your guard next to him needs to get his head up. I don't think the guard
oh well,
can do
he
that at
actually
all.
also got his held down. The other
Then
guy did
somebody
it to
needs to
him.
make a play.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to be a
Yeah.
man.
That was really funny. Like, yeah, you go watch the replay of that though. It's super funny. Two of the Giants guys on the line, as soon as the ball is hiked, they're holding down the guy so he can jump over and not touch either of them. I mean, it's a cool play, but it's just I feel like everyone should do that every time if that's allowed. And
I don't think it always works because I think generally players do get up a little bit quicker than that. Like I think that kind of
he might have been
may
trying
have
to
been like
draw a
a
penalty or
fluke thing,
something.
kind of. And that, like I said, that did happen to us before. I want to say against the Jets, but I could be wrong.
Mm,
But that was Isaiah Simmons who jumped over and blocked the kick.
yeah. I just I would be surprised if there's not like a rule change in the offseason to say that no one else is allowed to hold the center down. Because
Wouldn't
yeah,
shock
it's
me.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah,
And
Scott,
to be fair though, and then I'm not trying to say the Giants like the Seattle got cheated, because I think you and I said this. The Giants, it felt like the first drive they scored a touchdown and then Seattle
yeah,
returned it for a touchdown. So they kind of wash each other off. But
sure.
yeah,
This should have been a game the Giants won by 15, 16, 20 points. Like, that's how it felt. Like, we dominated that whole game. And that was a 14-point swing to start the game. So it was kind of crazy, but
yeah, the good on them for holding it together and coming back.
yeah. And they did the same thing against Cleveland too. We had that the kick return, we fumbled and they scored right away. So they're up 7-0 immediately, and then we kind of came back and beat Cleveland. But yeah. Scott, that's all I got, man. Thanks so much for joining me. Any parting words?
No, not really. I think that about covers it. But I mean, I will say that I looked at the Giants' schedule, and they lost to Dallas, no shame in that. They lost to Minnesota, obviously no shame in that. And then they lost to Washington. We both lost to Washington, and at the time, it seemed like a bad loss. But in retrospect, Washington, it seems like they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFC. So, I mean, the Giants haven't lost anyone bad yet. So I don't know.
Keyword is yeah.
That's all I gotta say. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. The Commanders game was another game that like we absolutely should have won that. We just couldn't.
For sure.
We couldn't get any stops on defense, and it was kind of frustrating because everything was so short with the Commanders, and we just never adjusted to it. I don't know why, but that's a different story. We won't get into that right now. Scott, thanks so much for joining me, man. We'll have you on again sometime, maybe the next time the Giants Bengals play.
Okay, yeah. So I'll see you in the Super Bowl then.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Sounds good.
Right, you heard it here first, folks. All right, bye.
All right, Giants fans. Well, thanks so much for joining me for this episode of Only a Giant. Obviously, we just had a guest on, Scott, a little Bengals preview. At this point, probably next episode, maybe Monday, we'll get the review out this week, try to get it out a little bit earlier. Other than that, though, let's go Big Blue. Let's have a great week, and let's get a W. Let's get a win. Let's go. Sunday Night Football. Let's get a win.
Hey, give me the chip. I need the championship. Wait, we got a dream. Next to the team. Yeah, we can handle it. Wait, soon as I go and I step in arenas, they call me the champ. They know what it is, know what I do.